Good evening and welcome to Gunner Shot. As 2024 ends, we're going to talk of India, Bangladesh, and the road ahead with Gen Ata Hasnain. So, at the outset, good evening and welcome to Gunner Shot once again. Uh, Bangladesh, an important neighbor, and a lot of things to talk of. Before I yield the floor to you, I'll just give a background on Bangladesh itself. Let's I've done about 4 to 5 episodes on Bangladesh with others, self, everything. If I have to summarize Bangladesh, where does Bangladesh stand today? From August, when the monsoon revolution or the second liberation, as they would like to call it, has happened, there's a marked political vacuum. You have an interim government in place which has exceeded the limits of its constitution or the Bangladesh constitution. It wants to carry out reforms and hold elections later, whereas the political parties want the elections to be held first and the reforms later. It's a typical chicken and egg story, and there's no way ahead. If elections were to be held today, it's almost a one-party show with the BNP. And BNP is also an emaciated party because over years their leadership has withered away. So it's a strange kind of a thing. There's really no, because Awami League has been sidelined. There's really no political force or a political activity going on from grassroots level to come up and rule the country. The Jamaat has been on the rise. The economy has gone down. It's actually gone down the chute with the inflation running high, and their main industry, the garment industry, is down in the dumps. The strange thing here is that the people of Bangladesh have conflated the Hasina government with India, and there is a lot of antipathy against India at a people-to-people level. I doubt if it's at a people-to-people level, but I think it's the voluble minority who is emoting these sentiments. At the government-to-government level, from what one can see, there is a understanding that India and Bangladesh have to live together, and it's good to maintain fences, or rather mend fences and get ahead, and look at interdependence and mutual respect. But that, unfortunately, has not translated down to the people. But what's very interesting is that the ties with Pakistan have taken a strange turn. That is Bangla-Pakistan ties. If ever you have to qualify that politics make strange bedfellows, it is this relationship which is emerging. The Chinese influence in Bangladesh is increasing, and the China forces in China and in Bangladesh are driving this relationship forward. It does not bode well either for India or Bangladesh, right? And I think we need to think this through, and we need to face some hard facts about each other. And it is with this reason that when you suggested to me that we should discuss Bangladesh, I readily accepted. Because to me, if there was a very important neighbor of us, it is Bangladesh. In fact, probably it is the most important neighbor because we share the largest boundary with this nation. And so we need to mend fences to go ahead. It is in our mutual well-being that everything will be nice and proper for Bangladesh and India. With this, sir, I'll request you to give your views, and then we'll see how it goes forward. All yours, sir.
Good evening, Jai Hind, to all our viewers. Thank you for agreeing on this subject. There was a reason why I particularly approached you to have this discussion. Among the military personalities who are in the media, who are speaking on television and on excellent programs like yours, I may be one of the rare ones who actually has visited Bangladesh at the invitation of the Bangladesh Army, spoken at their NDC, spoken at their higher command wing, their forces intelligence, have a lot of friends in Bangladesh by virtue of the fact that I've served in two UN missions with the Bangladesh Armed Forces. Right, both Mozambique, where we had a force commander from Bangladesh and including a Bangladesh battalion, and also in Rwanda, where the deputy chief military observer was from Bangladesh, and he went on to become the Bangladesh Army Chief, General Moin, very, very popular Army Chief of Bangladesh. And there was also a Bangladesh battalion in Rwanda. So, and I had a lot of Bangladesh friends living together. We had an India-Bangladesh house. I'm saying all this for reasons. We had an India-Bangladesh house in Rwanda, commonality of culture, commonality of outlook. We ate the same kind of food, to live together. That's what happens in the UN. You look for affinity. So it's a natural thing, when we used to go out in the United Nations, we always felt, well, Bangladeshis, where we are here together, Indian Army, Bangladesh Army, Armed Forces, observers, we are all one. Right? Now, having said that, I somehow felt extremely sad when on 5th of August, we suddenly found a complete downturn, reversal, 180 degrees in the relationship. I visited Bangladesh a couple of years ago, and there were observations one made at that time, but one didn't know how quickly this whole thing is going to start melting down. Right? So you made some very pertinent observations at the moment. Let me first start by a few observations of mine about the state of India-Bangladesh relations as in the past. We enjoyed a special relationship, right? By virtue of the fact, the moment you get militarily involved together, joint operations with the Mukti Jodhas and everyone, and subsequently a good relationship with the Bangladesh Armed Forces, automatically you have a special relationship that somehow didn't get translated very well. One of the factors perhaps was the reason that, to my mind, Pakistan was defeated in 1971, but it never left Bangladesh. Somehow the Pakistan army left. 93,000 prisoners were taken away by the Indian army. We left behind an ideology, left behind a very, very radical element which had very anti-Indian feelings. Many times they used to be known as the Biharis in Bangladesh, but Bangladeshis did not like the Biharis. But there were lots of others there who were still pro-Pakistan, those who were part of Operation Searchlight, in which thousands of Bangladeshi intellectuals were killed in 1970-71, right? So I always felt this, that the influence of Pakistan did not wane. Well, it may have reduced to some extent, but it remained there. The kind of relationship which should have emerged, the Indo-Bangladesh relationship, on the periphery, it seemed to be very, very stable and strong, but somehow it was not that transformational one which one should have expected. For example, I was told I was the first Indian general to visit and speak at the Bangladesh NDC, which is surprising because we were together from 1971 till 2015 when I went there. I was very happy that I had the opportunity to speak there. And after that, I think a lot of people have also gone and spoken, but we never had a kind of a automatic exchange of things going on. We've got officers going for NDC, our officers there, their officers here, etc. These are good. These are army to army relationships, armed forces to armed forces relationship. But translating it down to people, while there is a good bonhomie between the people culturally with West Bengal and that side. Somehow there has been an element of suspicion always. And I was particularly, in fact, it was something very interesting that on 5th of August, just after the 5th of August, I spoke in a particular program in which I had a friend from Bangladesh speaking with me, an intellectual from a university there, who said, India seems to have had it all wrong all this while. India was making friends with the wrong people. India was really not understanding what the Bangladeshi people wanted. I took absolutely that. And I said, yes, I think you may be right. We have perhaps looked at it too peripherally, and we have perhaps taken too many things for granted. That, as I started my discourse just now, when I said, one expected that a military victory, joint military victory, will automatically lead to a transformational relationship. That didn't happen. So we needed to understand this better, and we needed to work perhaps harder on that. We depended a lot on the relationship with the Awami League. We have a very good relationship, right? And great respect for Sheikh Mujib. I was here in January, I think it was 14th of January 1971 or 1972, when Sheikh Mujib came from London, came to Delhi, and from here he flew to Dhaka. He was going to the Rashtrapati Bhavan, and I stood at Vijay Chowk to wave at Banga Bandhu. I was very, very interested and passionate about looking at him, seeing him in flesh and blood, right? So most of us Indians were like that. We all loved the Awami League. We loved Banga Bandhu. We felt that this territory had been delivered from evil, from the Pakistani hold, that this whole aspect of the two nation theory, that, the Muslim and the Hindus cannot live together, etc. Here you found the Muslims not being able to live together either, at all. Culturally, Bangladesh was far closer to India, particularly in language with West Bengal, and many other eating habits, etc., with the eastern part of India. Those things didn't gel within Pakistan as a nation. Right? I'm saying all this because I think this is necessary for us to keep in the backdrop of the relationship, the manner in which it emerged, it happened, and subsequently the deterioration and the downturn which has happened at the moment. We have to keep all this in mind and learn from the past. I would also say that Bangladesh and India, in heart of hearts, they know that Bangladesh knows that it is in the interest of the nation to be in good relationship with India. India is a huge country, doing well economically, etc. That's not the only reason, but a neighbor which has essentially got the good of Bangladesh at heart, right? That is why these activities like targeting the minorities, etc., is completely against Bangladesh's interests, against Bangla interests at this moment. They have to realize it that perhaps still there is only a minority of people in Bangladesh who are actually involved in this, who are the vociferous people. Those who I speak to within India also, who have lived in Bangladesh, who have served in Bangladesh from the Indian Army, tell me very clearly that there is a minority only of people who believe in this kind of a thing. There may be a large number of people they are Muslims and they are good believing, practicing Muslims, but that does not make them anti-Indian, right? They also know that there are 180 million, 200 million Muslims here in India. They are mature people. This is the land of Nazrul Islam. This is the land which undivided Rabindranath Tagore. I mean, the culture which is so strong, the bonds of culture which are so strong. It's not necessary to become the Pakistan of this region and take faith and religion to that extent, the manner in which Pakistan has taken it. Now you're seeing a lot of efforts being made by Pakistan to get into it. Obviously, it's a golden opportunity for them. They realize that This is something they were waiting for 50 years to happen. Perhaps there'll be a lot of people who will draw out some of their own writings and say, see, this is exactly what we wanted. That this relationship between India and Bangladesh cannot flourish. That ultimately what we told you, it's a two-nation theory, right? India, non-Muslim, Hindu majority, this, that, cannot, the Bangladesh Muslim majority cannot get along with it. This is all hogwash. Ultimately, nations live with each other based upon national interests. And Bangladesh, I think, pragmatically understands it, right? Understands it that their national interest is to have a strong, enduring relationship with India. Economically, Bangladesh was doing well. Suddenly, there's a downturn. This doing well was in the shadow of India. I wouldn't say really in the shadow of India that way, but it was, a lot of people feel that India was not doing enough for Bangladesh. But perhaps as we go along, you'll find that as the Indian economy keeps on growing, the Bangladesh economy would also grow automatically along with it. So, to my mind, the one major factor which is limiting this aspect of our relationship is the growth of radicalism, religious radicalism in Bangladesh, which was always there, but not strong enough. It was kept under wraps to a great extent by the presence of the Awami League. Even the Bangladesh National Party, to my mind, shouldn't really be a radical party. I mean, what is the interest of their interest in being radical? I agree there are Jamaat Islami and parties of that kind which are essentially radicalized in the street. Invariably, in these kind of situations, you find the streets get taken by radicals. Because they are the ones who are vociferous, they are the ones who are violent, they are the ones who acquire weaponry for themselves, and the silent majority keeps quiet. To my mind, and this is the way people are telling me, those who know Bangladesh very well, those who have lived there, they're telling me that's exactly the situation. What India has to do is to remain very watchful, restrained, extremely patient. We should not be jumping to things to jump to conclusions. This is not the end of what has happened. This situation is going to pan out in all kinds of ways here. We have to make sure that we have the interest of that region, the interest of Bangladesh in mind, joint interest of India and Bangladesh together, continue playing to the moderate elements. There's no question of in any way supporting any aspect of extremism here. Right. Muhammad Yunus, surprisingly, I mean, I consider him at one time one of the most pragmatic leaders, a Nobel Prize winner, a grassroots man, etc. Is he today exercising his own mind in carrying out certain decisions, in giving the leadership which is there evident at the moment? Many of us would find that issue debatable. He's just being held hostage by a lot of elements in the street. And the international community has not woken up to things which are there. They are not looking at India's concerns. That this kind of activity which is going on in Bangladesh is completely against the interests of the international community. You don't want this area of Myanmar, Bangladesh, Northeast India, etc., to go up in flames. This is the worst thing which can happen here. So the international community should be, I think, much more understanding about the plight that India is facing at the moment in responding and reacting to this situation. And I think we have not done badly. Sending the foreign secretary, being on the listening watch, not politically, we have not spoken one word out of turn, actually, if you really see it. But we are a democracy, and the media will speak. The media has got the right. They will write. There will be lots of analysts who will make lots of comments, and there is a a reasonably extremist element within India too, which will make its remarks. We are a democracy after all, as I said. But the government has been very circumspect about it, and I think very, very mature. That is the way forward. No words out of turn, because I think things will turn around in the very near future. And if we are not being able to make them turn around, it will automatically happen and it will come to our interest in times to come. I'm eternal, I think positively, eternally, right? And therefore, that is why I'm convinced that what we are seeing is the worst which has happened, and perhaps things will turn for the better. I'll stop here.
Yeah, thank you, sir. That was a very comprehensive and a very mature way of looking at the whole problem. One of the things which I've seen and heard and experienced in all my podcasts is that a lot of people in Bangladesh equate the plight of the Hindu minority in Bangladesh with the plight of the Muslim minority in India. They feel that the government in India is discriminating against uh, the Muslims in India. And, so what are they doing different? Uh, I would like you to put it across as to what is the state of the Muslims in India, and is there any, are they being targeted? Are they being victimized like it is happening in Bangladesh, or as reports have come out? I'd like you to dwell on that, sir.
When I visited Bangladesh, one of the things which was told to me very, very proudly by members of the Bangladesh Armed Forces, by a lot of people in civil society, was the fact they said, you have come, sir, in the month of July. I think it was July I had gone there. You should have come here in the month of October when Puja is here. And they said, there are 28,000 pandals which are set up in Dhaka city. That's the number of pandals you'll find in Dhaka city. And the way we celebrate Durga Puja, even Calcutta or parts of India will not celebrate it. They were very proud of it. And that actually made me wake up. I said, yes, this society has it in it. There are radical elements here and there. There's no doubt about it. ISIS, if you remember, made a lot of efforts to get into Bangladesh. It could not. In fact, after its defeat in Mosul, the 2-3 areas where it tried to find its feet, one was in Philippines, in a place called Marawi. The second was in Sri Lanka, and the third was in Bangladesh. And all 3 places they were defeated. They tried to do it in India and southern India, where they were defeated too. Right. Now, having said this, therefore, Bangladesh was, to my mind, never had this issue at all. As far as India is concerned, well, a lot is being written around here and there. Maybe in the international community also, Western media does write about it. But there are 200 million Muslims in India. And we are interspersed all over the country. There are pockets in India where there are virtual Muslim majorities also, right? If you go to some portions of Kerala, you will find 38 to 45% Muslims there in a particular region, sub-region. Well, you will find there will be complaints. There will be issues which will come out. For example, this bulldozer thing. Then this bulldozer thing has created an unnecessary kind of impression around the world, right? That Muslims in India are being targeted and things like that. Of course, bits and pieces here and there, things have happened. People have actually had homes which are illegal, which have been constructed here and there, but they have been razed to the ground. All this is very much there. It's a part of the, in a functioning democracy, these kind of things keep happening. But then there are some great positive stories. I won't talk about myself. I'll talk about so many others in society, in civil society in India. I'm from the armed forces where there's no question of anything in terms of faith and ideology. But Otherwise, you see the number of people. You see Mohammad Siraj playing cricket, excellent cricket for India. In Australia at the moment, you'll find it in different various sports competitions in the film world, in Bollywood, in industry. You will find everywhere. It's just so there is a balance. While there is maybe a bad somewhere, there may be an incident somewhere in a multi-ethnic, multi-religious society. Things do happen. This kind of a thing is there. Similar thing can happen in Bangladesh, but in Bangladesh, the manner in which in the last 3 months has been projected by the international community, by us also, is that there seems to be a deliberate targeting. Statements coming out, common media statements being given out to say that pandals will not be put up and things like that, and then symbols. You see symbols being burned down. Uh, when you look at it on the larger picture, it's not just the question of a Hindu-Muslim issue; it's the question of an India-Bangladesh issue. I mean, the whole point about the entire point about jointmanship, the manner in which the 71 war was won by the Mukti Jodhas and the Indian Armed Forces together, no one is referring to that. In fact, the symbols of that are being destroyed itself. So I think those who have to find fault and speak about it and create tensions, escalate issues here and there, we'll always find these kind of incidents and reports to dwell upon. But by and large, I don't think in India we don't have this problem. We do not. We've got a problem, all right. Yes, we do have a problem, bit of a problem. But Bangladesh at the moment has a different kind of a problem. The serious, focused kind of attention on minorities, and and the government not doing enough to even talk about it. Not even to talk about it. It's not a question of being in denial, but not even to talk and assuage the feelings, etc. Not even that is being done at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, that I thought was a good explanation. So if I add my own two bits to it, I live in a place where I see all Muslims thriving in Chennai, and I don't see any discrimination against anyone, and I see them moving freely and doing whatever they have to do in daily life and prospering. In fact, there are colleges here which are meant exclusively for Muslims. I wouldn't say exclusively, majority for Muslims, and no one is upset with that whole story either. So I think there's a huge amount of lack of information or misinformation being propagated in Bangladesh, and that is being directed towards their own minorities who are their uh, own, you know, nationals. So I think that is a problem. I don't know when they'll get out of it.
If I may add just a line more, most of these incidents are related to lumpen elements in India. You'll always find an odd place where you have an odd local tough coming and getting some people together and trying to, sort of get his territory by acting a little more bolshy than others. That kind of a thing is very, very common,
Yeah.
right? Is that happening in Bangladesh? I don't think so. There it seems to be a politically connived thing put together where it is happening with a focus. I hope the focus is not to evict people from there, because as it is, the Hindu population has minority population has dwindled down to just 18 million at the moment.
Yeah. The second thing, so there is a huge revisionism going on in Bangladesh. And when I say revisionism, like you rightly said, Professor Yunus, the way his outreach to Pakistan, and of course Pakistan has responded, uh, and it's not a natural relationship which is restarting. There is something more to it. Can you put your finger on it, and can you give an explanation as to what's happening between? Bangladesh and Pakistan. I'm not talking of Pakistan and Bangladesh. This is initiated in Bangladesh. It's not initiated by Pakistan.
Yes, deliberate and very, very interesting, this whole aspect, because when things happened on 5th of August, this is the last thing that I expected will happen. I thought Pakistan will make slow entry into this area, because we are already aware that Pakistan has elements here. It's from here that they peer into our northeast, carry out surveillance into the northeast, have their sleeper agents and things of that kind. But a deliberate reversal in the sense from Bangladesh to reach out to Pakistan seemed very surprising. Number one, no benefit economically, where a country which is down, absolutely down and out at the moment, 24th time going to the IMF for a bailout loan, etc. What does Bangladesh expect out of it? And someone like Muhammad Yunus, man who won a Nobel Prize on an issue related to economics, macroeconomics, virtually. How would so then you realize that Muhammad Yunus is obviously not his own man. Then you realize that Muhammad Yunus is obviously being played by a coterie of people, right? Whether the strings of this entire thing go to some other part of the world cannot yet be determined. Although in the beginning, when we came out in August, September, that was the time when lots of things were written in the Indian media that, the strings of this are connected to the West here and there and things like that. Today, you can't make those kind of allegations because nothing has really been proved. So it seems that it is only within Bangladesh that the radicalized elements have gained that kind of a power where they can actually put a good, sensible person like Muhammad Yunus, who was in that league of people, put him up and use them like a pawn and reach out to Pakistan for nothing else than actually a pan-Islamism kind of coming together and creating more chaos in India's northeast, in the eastern region, by which Bangladesh thinks that it can thrive. It can thrive through that. This is the most convoluted kind of a strategic thinking which I've ever come across. Anyone will realize it that the best option for Bangladesh is to have a strong political, economic, social relationship with India, right on the back of the development which is taking place here. As the development takes place into the northeast of India, automatically the development will take place in Bangladesh, and that's the best way forward. But no, that's not the thinking which is present there.
Which I think personally that has to come, but that will take a long time. The best thing is India and Bangladesh progress together, and it will be a sad. I mean, I wouldn't say it's a sad day, but it's already happening in some way. We need to reverse it. That India will continue its progress, and Bangladesh is regressing, as it has for the past 4 months. And I don't see Bangladesh coming along with India and progressing in a hurry. That's the way. That's the reality of the situation. The second thing which I have, I think we need to dwell on is the Bangladesh-China relationship. Bangladesh and China had always a good relationship because Bangladesh has bought all its arms and ammunition from China traditionally. And China has made huge inroads into Bangladesh. And that was a call of the government of the day over years. And we never had a problem with it. China has also invested heavily into Bangladesh. But one of the good things which Bangladesh did was never to go under the debt trap of China. It was never under the debt trap. It kept an arm's distance. But now with the situation the way it is developing and Pakistan coming into the fray, and I have read a few articles in China and hardcore Chinese articles which say that, look, we need to cultivate Bangladesh so that we open up 3 fronts for India. I would like you to dwell a little on this business of China coming into the fray and Pakistan and China colluding in
See, we have been always aware of this fact that the Chinese would want to have a greater cultivation of influence in Bangladesh. For some reason, they haven't done enough of it. The scope for actually forcing India to look eastwards that much more in terms of security, the Chinese have not been able to do it. Perhaps their focus and attention is too much to the Indo-Pacific, is much more in the Himalayan region on top, etc. And that's the reason, perhaps, why they have not been able to step in here so much. This current situation is being looked at by the Chinese, to my mind, as another opportunity. And the manner in which Pakistan and China have been able to get their act together in the northwest Indian Ocean in the last 2 to 3 years would have given them the kind of indicators as to, you see, how they can force an Indian sort of, directional focus in that area, into that area where we have been sending out our navy very often, anti-piracy, other operations, etc. That kind of a thing there. Now they said this is the golden opportunity to do it here, and the scope is tremendous. It's not just a question of cultivation of Bangladesh army. It is northeast, in northeast of India, 7 states. It is encouraging separatism, encouraging leaders to go in there, have sleeper agents, bring in radicalism in Bangladesh, and perhaps through Bangladesh into other portions of where minorities live in India in the northeast, and there are lots of minorities there. Why only this? Let's look at Myanmar, the direction of Myanmar, Rakhine, through the area of Rakhine. From there, attempts to get towards Bangladesh, from the Myanmar direction. All this has, there's a tremendous scope of keeping this area completely unstable. You resolve one issue, you have still got 5 issues more to contend with. So, when you put yourself as the red land, as we do in the army, as you're aware, when you put yourself as the red land, if I was red land, I would say, my God, this is the best situation for me. I got everything on a platter here. I don't have to necessarily do anything great militarily. You see, most people in India think that everything has to be done through force of arms. Bring in an army there, bring in arms there, etc. No, nothing of the sort is required. Just keep that area in effervescence there. In turbulence there. That is sufficient for us to be able to turn our heads there at all times. And when you say a third front, let's also describe to our viewers that the half front that we used to talk about was about this only. The Red Corridor, issues in Punjab, issues in Jammu and Kashmir, etc. When you put them all together, this is what the half front was. This is much more than the half front. That is why it is virtually the third front without really bringing about anything conventional out here. No conventional threats. Despite that, this is a third front, to my mind.
Right, sir. The last question before I turn to a few questions from the audience is this. Let's take the role of USA. Much has been written. There is I would say a lot of people feel that the Biden administration, one way or the other, destabilized the current the situation in Bangladesh for its own purposes, and you could argue it both ways, whatever it is. But one thing is very clear: after the revolution has taken place, or there is no US overtures to Bangladesh. If they have done anything before that, they have done, but they have kept their hands off Bangladesh in the post-revolution phase. But don't you think that it's time that USA and India got together and to start working together to help Bangladesh out and stabilize the situation? I'm saying it especially because earlier when Mr. Trump was the president, he let India do what it needed to be done in its neighborhood. And kept supporting India in its endeavors. I'd like your views on this.
Well, going by what President-elect Donald Trump said a few weeks ago about Bangladesh, the only statement that he made condemning the targeting of the minority Hindu population, etc., I think should give an indicator. Although in the case of Mr. Trump, it's not always usual that he will speak about something and carry it on with it. Sometimes he just makes a point and just leaves it there, doesn't convert it towards policy. But if we go by that statement, it is an indicator. And there are some very good people in the will be some very good people in the Republican administration who definitely will have uh, 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 amount of compassion, an amount of uh, sort of feeling for India, which has traditionally been there. We've seen it in the time of President George Bush and things like that. So I do think that the United States, come 21st of January, when the transition takes place, next 1 or 2 months, you will find this will be one of the regions, South Asia, to which the Trump administration will turn its attention. You see, Middle East there's no doubt, it's a ticking bomb. But Trump has been good at handling the Middle East in the past also, right? Ukraine is going to take a lot of his attention, right? So there's going to be a quieter diplomacy here. South Asia, he would definitely want the Indo-Pacific, attention towards the Indo-Pacific. He would want India to be positively inclined. And to that extent, I think the initial meetings just now, which Mr. Shankar has just had with some of the emerging counterparts, heavyweights in the potential, in the future Trump administration, these meetings will be very, very important. I'm sure Mr. Shankar would have given out the priorities at this time. And in those priorities, to my mind, Pakistan would be probably lower and Bangladesh would be much higher, because Bangladesh has the potential of, sort of erupting. Pakistan at the moment, that possibility, potential is far, far lower. But Mr. Trump would be concerned about the Chinese interest, the China-Pakistan factor playing up into Bangladesh, and three directions, three fronts for India is not something which he would be very comfortable with. So I do think that we can look for some more positive overtures which will come from the US administration as we go along. Not in a hurry. It won't happen immediately.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Because it's not in a priority of the US at the moment. But it will take its time and it will happen. If something out of the ordinary starts developing in Bangladesh, perhaps it will draw the attention of the United States a little faster into this region.
So my last question to you: where do you see Bangladesh going from here, and how do you see India-Bangladesh relations also moving ahead? Because a lot of our relationship will depend on what's happening in Bangladesh. Given the fact that the current government has said, the current, I wouldn't call it a government, the current people in power have said that it will not be before 25, 26, not 20, 25 is going to be just about 48 hours away. Till 26, that elections will be held. And so it's a long time. How do you see the situation unfolding in Bangladesh?
You see, John Shankar, the one thing which we have not spoken of so far and which remains a very important issue in this progressive relationship with Bangladesh will be the issue related to Sheikh Hasina. I have participated in 1 or 2 programs on Bangladesh where I made my opinion very clear. India is not one of those nations who doesn't stand by its friends. I think this is one of the few issues which is considered as a basic in Indian political thinking also. We have welcomed We have had a very strong relationship with the Awami League from 1971 onwards, with this family also. It's not that we are going to throw her under the wheels at this time. But we don't know who's in power, first of all, in Bangladesh. Um, Muhammad Yunus is very much the front face of the government. What else is there in the government? We don't know yet, really, right? And what is the legal status by which they demand the return of Sheikh Hasina? I mean, I made myself very clear on that. And therefore, as long as she's with us, and she may move on somewhere else, and she may go to a third country and find her pastures there, wish her all security and safety, that could be a reasonable solution for us to start converging a little more with the Bangladesh administration. But if that's not to happen, and if this situation is to continue, I don't foresee anything improving in terms of this relationship, at least in the period that you are talking till 26. If and when the elections take place, will the Awami League participate in those elections? Will they be allowed to participate in the election? Will it be a free and fair election? These are the many questions which will have to be answered and considered at that particular time. It's not that India only seeks a relationship with the Awami League. We can do business with the Bangladesh National Party. We can do business with any other party which is democratically elected, which is not doesn't have extremist and radicalized views, and which is essentially tolerant towards the minorities.
So, extension of this, how do you think we should go about from our side? What should India do for the next 2 years? We can't keep Bangladesh out of our system. We can't keep it at an arm's length. And we need to still get along with this. It's a rocky road ahead.
See, Shankar, I learned one thing many years ago in dealing in geopolitical issues, national security and national strategic areas. You look at things politically, economically, socially, militarily, diplomatically, psychologically. 6 things, right? The political window may be closed. We got 5 windows still open. No one is going to turn down Indian support economically. Not at all. Right? And I think we can both thrive by coming together. We can do something by reinforcing and supporting the Bangladesh cotton industry, the hosiery and the clothing industry, etc., which has been, as you're aware, a $60 billion earner as far as Bangladeshi foreign exchange is concerned. We can continue maintaining other aspects of our relationship. We must not curb. There will be a lot of demands from all kinds of people in our country and in Bangladesh. Cut down on military cooperation, etc. That's the last thing which should happen. Nothing has happened here. We must continue having our NDC vacancies, all the vacancies at the Army War College, at the wonderful campus in Dhaka, where I stayed for a few days. Wonderful to go back there. Let's keep rejuvenating the relationships that all our officers have established in the UN missions, or sitting in New York together and cursing the Indian generalship and the Bangladesh generalship together, right? This is what normally things happen among younger officers also, everywhere. They have a tremendous bonhomie and spirit. Why should all this be lost? This must continue. We must harp on the security of the minorities. We must insist on that. We must continue sending out, our diplomatic advisories. We must have our diplomats visiting them, and they must have their diplomats visiting us. We must welcome delegations from Bangladesh. Delhi is a place where you find lots and lots of Bangladesh delegations coming here. We must welcome them here. And one of the most important things, medical tourism. I mean, if you have to even double the number of visas that you're giving, do it. Where will people from Bangladesh find better and cheaper medical aid assistance treatment than in India, in Calcutta, in Guwahati, and places like that. Super specialty hospitals. Let's use India's emerging soft power, which is what our Honorable Prime Minister keeps saying. Hamara soft power istemal kariye, right? And I think that's one of the most pragmatic and sensible advisories that the Prime Minister keeps giving from time to time. That's the way forward.
Right, sir. Thanks a lot. I think we've covered a large landscape of Bangladesh, various facets. And one thing which comes out very clearly is the road ahead is long and it's going to be difficult. It's not going to be easy. We should not give it up in a hurry. With this, I'll take a few questions. I'll focus on questions from Bangladesh because I think they need to be addressed more. Now, Harun Tanzir has asked two questions. I'll put both of them up and you'll get an idea of what their thinking is. So, I ask you, if India gets anything positive by making Bangladesh an enemy, I'm sure the cost of military will be increased by many, many times. The second question he asks, is this. He says, do you have any information about 6 million Ansar of Bangladesh? They have primary military training.
Okay. I hope, what is his name, my friend Harun Tanzir?
Harun Tanzir.
Harun Tanzir, very nice getting your question. I only hope that this is not a veiled threat to us.
Yeah.
Because the way I'm reading it, it seems you want to convey something more to us. No, that's not a fair one, I would say. India doesn't get anything out of making Bangladesh an enemy. Why should we? As I just told you, and I've just been outlining this to you for the last 10 minutes. I've got the best of friends with whom I've had an age-old relationship. United Nations here and there, done courses abroad internationally, served all over the world together. Similarly, lots of people from your country have those relationships with our people. Anytime I have traveled on a Jet Airways flight to Dhaka, I have found only businessmen going with me. क्या करने जा रहे हैं? अब हमारा तो business है. We are thriving in business in Dhaka. Wonderful. That's how relationships are made. Not by veiled threats. Right? 6 million Ansar, okay, we've got a population of how much? 1.4 billion. Many of them are armed also, perhaps. We don't know. Right? Well, these are, friends, countries don't make these kind of statements at each other. Are you aware of this? Are you aware of that? No. That's not the way forward. I would strongly suggest have a change of mind. Right? There is no one in India who has anything negative against Bangladesh as such. Anyone who is a sensible thinking person in India, and most Indians are sensible thinking, all of us are of that breed. We all understand that this is a very crucial area. Your area, 4,000 kilometers, Shankar just told you in the beginning, right in the beginning. 4,000 kilometer frontage, longer than the China front, longer than the Pakistan front. This is the longest border that India has got. And everything going for us. Right? Why should we want enemies there? Let's talk only of friendship. And let's put an end to this thing which is developed unnecessarily.
Yeah. Dunga Wai, he's also from Bangladesh and he regularly comes on Kannada Shot. He says, as supporters of the Bangladesh Awami League, we are keeping a record of crimes and their perpetrators. In due course, action will be taken and we have requested the party to act swiftly. You're getting a different kind of an indication that the Awami League is right now subdued, but in due course it will come out and you'll see a different story happening as we go down the line.
To my mind, it's not a single party at the moment in Bangladesh. Awami League may have been emasculated for the moment because it's lost its top leadership. Right? And I think anyone should realize that a nation with a two-party kind of a system is always has a better shape of politics instead of a single party which keeps dominating. Now, I agree that Bangladesh Awami League has been in domination for a fairly long time, and we need to go back to true democracy. I mean, I'm no one to pass judgment on Bangladesh's quality of democracy, etc. But we would definitely like to see internationally certified elections with full multi-party participation and things like that. And I'm sure that will happen in the future. My strong advice to the Bangladesh Awami League also would be don't make enemies. Keep a quiet sort of an approach and attitude at the moment. Keep a lower profile at the moment, right? There is no necessity of trying to be very acidic and coming up in a very kind of a manner of clashing with the other side and trying to settle matters physically and with violence, and it's not going to lead to anything. It will only take the nation further down completely. As it is, things are not very good at the moment, right? So, to my mind, I think your point, you are making a statement. Don't threaten. Threats are not good. No one likes threats at this time. It's best continue with your actions, whatever you're doing, etc., and keep making overtures. If you can make overtures, have some kind of multi-party meetings, inter-party meetings, etc., at the lower levels where people may still be very good friends with each other. That is the kind of approach which may be perhaps better.
Yeah, he's put in a couple of more comments, sir, which are very logical. He says Bangladesh has made a long-term mistake by neglecting quality education for its youth, while the middle and upper classes have always had access to good education. He says the poor were left with substandard orphanages and madrasas. This inequality in education, compounded by corruption, has widened the wealth gap and created deeper societal issues. He's just saying what he feels is the thing.
But I tend to agree with him a lot. You see, there has been, social development in Bangladesh hasn't been strong enough. There is much more which is required to be done. We all say this about India. What happened in 1991? When you had the socialist economy and that kind of a thing, we also didn't make that kind of a progress, right? So a time will come. I mean, every nation has its dates with destiny, and I think Bangladesh's time may be coming. You have done well. By my figures tell me, by your economic measures, Bangladesh has uplifted almost about 25 million people from. Just a sec. Sorry, my phone is troubling me. That Bangladesh has lifted 25 million people out of poverty, just like China lifted 350 million people out of poverty, right? So I think you need to be looking forward. These are good. In fact, you're educating us by reminding us about that such things have happened in Bangladesh. But I'm sure that if and when we have elections, a suitable government comes into place, the way forward is only going to be through education. You've seen what's happened in India in the recent couple of years, right? The number of IITs which have gone up, the number of institutions which have gone up all over India. See, why has medical tourism become such a major industry in India? It's not only from Bangladesh, it's from the Middle East. From the Middle East, people are all flocking to India for this. That's because India has been able to uplift its quality of medical education and medical infrastructure. And this is, I'm sure, it's something which will happen in Bangladesh in due course.
The only solution, India and Bangladesh relationship, no water dam for India, Bangladesh inter-river, and second one is visa-free for 7 sisters, including Andaman, both countries. That's the solution.
I think that's a subset of a solution. Good, yes, it is a part of it's a part of the whole thing. If you have a good Indo-Bangladesh relationship, then You should not be having a problem of sharing of waters. You should not have a problem of visas at all. But that is something which will probably have happen much later. Even the Andamans can be visa free, if at all. But before that, and the aspect of trust has to come.
Yeah, that trust has
Now,
been
what
broken back big time.
that has been broken badly by the recent run of events which have happened. You see, the moment when you get this issue, such as the targeting of minorities, etc., the first casualty is trust. And mind you, our trust was instant. The moment two nations have come to war, gone to war together against an adversary, and won that war, automatically the trust factor is very high. And that was something that we had over a period of time, despite minor things here and there which were happening. There was a larger issue of India Bangladesh cooperation based upon our age-old relationship. That trust has gone. And the fact that Pakistan is trying to make an entry today here is something which I would like to forewarn people in Bangladesh is not something to your interest at all.
Yeah. The next question, sir, is a deeper question. He says the ethnic hatred between Punjabi Muslims and Bengali Muslims, which kept on rising after 1947 and came to the peak in 1970 elections in West and East Pakistan. What happened? So that passed now.
Memories are very shallow, very, very shallow, right? A generation, that generation, 2 generations have gone by, perhaps completely forgot. They don't remember. You ask a Bangladeshi today, how many prisoners did the Mukti Jodas and the Indian army take together? They won't remember. 93,000 prisoners. They won't identify the names of those people who were there in the surrender ceremony. Right? Lots and lots of things which happened together at that time will not be remembered by people. This happens between nations. It doesn't happen between nations, but it happens in history. People have a tendency to forget history. Right? And until the next major thing happens once again, right, you will find that this kind of a bonhomie may build up. I only hope that Bangladesh realizes this, and the leadership, whichever ultimate leadership which comes to power, retraces its steps and comes back to create that trust and bonhomie with India, which is the only actual way forward for the people of Bangladesh.
Yeah, and it's going to be very tough for the simple reason we are talking of a nation which has destroyed all the statues of Bangabandhu, who got them freedom and created the nation. And now they're looking at a false revolution, and they're quite lost in where they're going. So for them to find direction and come to track and then reverse is going to take a lot of time. What you're talking of, JBJP, you come on the channel after a long time, is it's actually a lot of utopia in this whole story. The reality is far different. Okay, so this is so why is there no intervention from UN? Was there a statement from them? At least, not that it matters. Your view, sir.
I don't know when was the last time that the UN ever made a positive step which was effective enough. As far as this part of the world is concerned, I can't expect the last time when the United Nations ever made a step. Even in the case of, in the case of Israel, in the case of Gaza, they have been making efforts, they have been making statements from time to time. But here, nothing has happened. I think it's perhaps also for the want of a nudge, which is usually given by a bigger power. Now, perhaps India hasn't done it sufficiently, or India needs to do it. But India also doesn't internationalize these kind of issues. They treat this as more of a regional kind of a thing. And it's to India's interest to keep it regional at the moment, I think. I don't think we really want to take this to the whole world and throw it open to them. We can resolve our issues. We can sort of handle our issues here in this part of the world. So I don't think you can expect anything much from the UN. If you found, in the case of 1971, when you found refugees coming out from Bangladesh, and when the figure reached 1 million, I still remember the day when All India Radio was announcing the figure of 1 million. Simultaneously, there were UN announcements going on at that particular time. And the UNHCR came in a very big way to handle the entire refugee crisis, which reached up to 10 million and beyond at one time.
So why was our Raw not able to sense the anti-India sentiment afloat in Bangladesh and effectively counter it?
I can assure you, everyone in India, forget Raw. Raw is too professional. I mean, me, all of us, we knew that uh, there's an awkward kind of a situation in Bangladesh. We also knew that we don't have too many options. Perhaps we were slightly late in rising to it, because for long this discussion was going on that India has got too many eggs in one basket. We have put all our eggs into the Awami League basket. We need to play up with other parties. But by the time this handiwork on this started, I think it became a little too late. But I can assure you, our intelligence agencies are well up to it, and they were fully aware of this. It's not that they did not, and it's not as if the rest of India and the security setup in India did not know.
So the last question. We must give Bangladesh at least one chance to course correct. No damage done so far that cannot be ignored or corrected. But if Bangladesh continues to be on the anti-India path, then we should be ruthless.
Depends on what you mean by the term ruthless.
Yeah, I mean, you take it. I mean, he's expressed the sentiment.
Express the sentiment. I agree with you. It's a sentiment well expressed, and that, and I think I have been following. This is the path which I've been following through this discussion, right through that. We really haven't suffered too much yet. Not too much damage has happened, and there is room for course correction. There is room for damage limitation, and hopefully some behind the scenes. In these kind of situations, both sides sometimes are embarrassed to make upfront kind of statements to each other, right? That is the time when you have room for track two. And I'm quite certain some kind of a track two would have started, should be in place, and that may probably give you better solutions than what track one will give.
Yeah, there's a comment, sir, from Bangladesh. I'm from Bangladesh. I opened the video, thought it would be another propaganda video, so I can laugh at from India. But it seems like a good conversation and reasonably nice. And reasonable, nice.
See, Sajidur Rahman Sahab, I can assure you, you have a set of very pragmatic, sensible people in India, right? There are quarters in every nation where you will find strange, awkward voices which will rise. But here on this particular program, and Gunner's Shot particularly is a very respected YouTube channel, you will find people from the Indian Armed Forces very largely, and a lot of people from civil society who join in. All of them are sensible, pragmatic people. And the voice which you are hearing here is the actual voice of India. And I hope that people in Bangladesh are listening to it and believing it. Because all that India really means for Bangladesh is to see a stable, friendly Bangladesh emerge stronger and stronger.
Yeah, I think, sir, we've run a large lot of questions and mostly from Bangladesh. I'm glad that you took all of them on. And if I would like to give my 2 bits worth, and I'd like to put it out to all Bangladeshis who are watching this, that look, it's in your interest that you mend friends with Indians, as much as it is in our interest to mend friends with Bangladesh. But I can also assure you one thing. We can live with a troubled Bangladesh, but you can't live with a troubled India. That's the equation with this, right? And you'll have to take a call and you have to meet halfway. Don't expect India to come there and listen to whatever you say, because I see a viewpoint coming from Bangladesh as if it's an entitlement that India has to do what Bangladesh wants. That will not happen. If that comes up, this thing, that will not happen. Uh, you have to come halfway, and so far, sir, to be very honest, that halfway mark has not been reached. On the other hand, I think we have reached quite a bit. Let me see, because these are the questions which have come on the live, you know, talk of us. I'm sure as people see it tomorrow, there will be more reactions, and then we'll get to know the real state of our what is the message we are trying to convey from here. I've been consistent in saying that India and Bangladesh need to have a shared future. What kind of a shared future it is will be completely dependent on the people of Bangladesh and the people of India, and it should be good for both. Sir, your last comments, and then we'll close the shows.
I would endorse every word you have said in your summation at the end. I particularly like the issue of the halfway. We have both got to move halfway. No one should expect that one will go the full way to sort of meet the requirements of the other side. We should both go halfway. And I think the words which you used at the end, a shared future. The shared future is what it stands out clearly for India and Bangladesh together. I mean, a sizable set of people, 1.4 billion along with 220 million, is a huge mass of humanity, right? And I think the only way it can be, the only way that the two sides can actually flourish is by looking at peace, looking at the ways of getting together and understanding each other. I only hope that this program will be quoted in years to come as a program with pragmatic, sensible advice. No one is here for conflict. No one is here for promotion of conflicts. We are military people who do not believe in conflicts. We believe in ensuring that we avoid conflict. That's the way to move forward.
Thank you, sir, and thanks for all the watchers who have come today. Please carry this message to everyone of your friends and relatives. Before I sign off, tomorrow I'll be back to wish all of you a Happy New Year. But I would like to wish Gen Hasnain and his family a very Happy New Year to you, sir.
Thank you.
From
Thank you. And from my
everyone
side to everyone.
and to in Gunner Shot. I'd also request all of you, those who are watching Gunner Shot for the first time, do subscribe to it and also become members of the Gunner Shot, because, like I say, you're supporting a good cause by becoming members and making this small payment.
And share Gunner's Shot more widely, because this is one of the most sensible channels which can actually make a difference in finding peace between nations.
Yes. With this, sir, thanks a lot. Good evening to you, and Jai Hind to everyone, sir.
Jai Hind.